Hi, Reinhard. Welcome back again for another interesting topic. How are you today?
Hi, Dharam. I'm very fine. It's night. It's freezing cold outside. We had the first snow showers this week.
So thank you very much, Reinhard. Again, one more topic, interesting topic. And this is very, I think hot topic, especially in the cold days. It's good to have some hot topic. So we're talking about future PMO, future of the PMOs, project management office, what they're called project management office, program management office, portfolio management office, enterprise PMO. There are various meaning of PMO. So we can establish first what is PMO and what is the context for today's discussion. And we'll talk a little bit about the traditional PMOs and what's the issues and what's the problem with the traditional PMOs and moving towards the future PMOs and how this future PMO going to assist the organization to improve their delivery and the value proposition to their customers.
Yeah, very relevant topic. And a few weeks ago, I had just a conference about that future PMO. I was asked by a big automotive supplier to just speak about the development from nowadays PMO towards something like future PMO. And
yeah,
you are right. There's not one definition or one such a thing like the PMO. I would nevertheless distinguish between what is an office for a single individual project or program. That's what we call project office or program office. It starts with the start of the project and closes down if the project activities are finished. So I think that's very temporary. But if you look at the project management office, that's typically in an organization which works permanently in the area of projects. So you have a permanent organizational unit, which we call then project management office. Could also be called portfolio office, or if it's on the corporate level, a corporate project management office. But nevertheless, it is dealing with multiple projects, not just one, and it is serving a certain function within the organization, supporting especially the decision-making, creating transparency of this kind of portfolio or multiple projects, and helping to organize that portfolio of activities. So this is what I believe is a project management office. And for the sake of clarity, let's just stick with the term of project management office, which deals with multiple projects at a time.
Perfect. Yeah. Thank you for clarifying, because as I said, there are different definitions coming from different angles. So thank you. So the PMO is assisting project, program, and portfolio management or organizational leaders in making decisions and collecting information and supporting them via providing some training, consulting, and all kinds of things. And so what do you think, what the traditional PMOs, what they're doing at the moment? Are they doing okay, or should we continue with them, or we should look for a new ways of doing PMOs, running the PMOs?
No, let's first have a look into the roles of PMO. Okay. And typically, the PMO helps to establish the project governance, which is important for decision making and so on and so forth. So reporting, structures, processes, and so on, in order to enable decision making by the senior executives and top management of an organization.
Yeah.
And if you want to have this transparency, I think you need also a certain degree of standardization of project, program, and portfolio management. So a PMO typically establishes PM standards, methods, and tools that they use. Can be software tools or templates and whatever. And then the PMO is also helping the project managers and the program managers to utilize these methods, tools, templates, and what. So the PMO is typically supporting them. And you mentioned training and coaching. That's one way of supporting, but it can be also very hands-on support in developing these kind of reports, status reports, etc. I think another very critical function is what I would call the portfolio function of a PMO.
Yeah.
Because typically you need to know in a certain area of responsibilities, or how many projects do we have right now? what is their status, the phase that the projects are in, and what kind of decisions do we need in that portfolio to take. And a PMO is not the decision body, and I think that's very important. But the PMO supports decision making, which is then up to the senior executives or the steering committees or top managers that decide based on that information that a PMO is pulling together in this kind of report. So these are the typical roles. Some project management officers do less, some do more, but I think more or less that's the typical set of roles a PMO is performing. Do you agree to that, Dharam?
Yeah, exactly. So these are the typical roles they are playing. Very important role, making sure the data coming from the project programs are accurate, and that will be put into a report format, whether you are using automatic system or some kind of you filling the some kind of thing. Ideally, like to see automatic system, and making sure that whatever information generated is provided to the C-level or executive or whoever making the decision, so they have clarity on what is happening actually on the ground, and based on their vision and a mission, they can take the decisions. And nowadays, it's all happening very fast as well.
Yeah, I fully agree. You asked the question, what is the struggle that PMOs nowadays have? And
yeah,
I would really highlight the struggle of providing benefits to the stakeholders. Now, if you provide the benefit of transparency, that is mainly for the senior executives, because they want to exactly know how is the portfolio of activities doing? Do we have any, let's say, red flag projects? What kind of decisions do we need to take, etc., etc. But that's something that puts the PMO into the role of a policeman.
Yes.
And that perception of these PMO being a policeman is a difficult one, because in that circumstances, they would lose the, let's say, the support of the project managers where they need to get the information from. So I would rather say it is difficult if a PMO is perceived to be the policeman, because if you're speeding on the highway, I think you don't like to be caught, or you don't like to be bothered with the fine or the ticket, etc. So that's then you cannot be the nice guy. Then you're already the bad guy. So what is the benefit for the project managers? Actually, they need support. They need the PMO to support them in applying the standards, maybe understand them first and really apply them, and support them also, let's say, as towards the top management. So what is the expectation towards the report and the content of the report? Is a red flag project acceptable, or do they want to greenwash everything? So a PMO is somewhere in between those chairs, between the top management with the expectation of a very high performance portfolio, and the project managers that need to demonstrate performance towards the top management. And so PMO needs to be somewhere in between.
Exactly. So, as you mentioned, one perception about PMO is policeman. They are asking, hey, where's the report, when I'm going to get, you are not compliant with this particular policy document, and this and that. And this is one typical thing people have been saying, and not to blame them. That's what the expectation the organization had from them. You have governance process, procedure established, and make sure everybody is following that. So that's make them a policeman. So we have to think beyond as a policeman. Is a support, as you mentioned. This is support structure. They should be seen as a friends. Many project manager, program manager, when they come and join the organization, they don't know much about the organization standards, process, procedures. So the PMO should be spending time with this new project program manager to guide them and show them what organization is expecting from them as a PM, project managers, or program managers. What kind of report they should be providing, when they should be providing, and how they can be providing a helping hand to them.
So I think you also need to look beyond the individual project and the performance of the individual project. So on a PMO or portfolio level, you have a very different viewpoint. And you can draw conclusions from that viewpoint, like you are at a lighthouse or a high tower and can look on the scene. So you can identify whether there's a risk, a cluster risk. So one risk, let's say one supplier is employed in many of the projects and he's close to be bankrupt. And it would be a big risk for the whole portfolio and the whole organization. But not the single project manager is aware of it, but you as a PMO. So by aggregating all the risks and identifying cluster risk, that's a benefit you can provide to the top management, but also to the project managers so that they are more aware of that. Or what I've also experienced, if you are, let's say, a knowledge hub, PMO as a knowledge hub,
yes,
you can provide and aggregate all the lessons learned. You can feed that lessons learned back to the individual projects and can advise project managers that there was already a solution maybe 5 years back in the same circumstances. And that's a very specific benefits to the project managers. So if you provide such, let's say, an intermediate benefit to them. And that's also from an organizational perspective. So the majority of the project managers, but also the project management system, because you as a PMO, you always see which project managers performing, or are there some people that need more qualification and maybe certification in a certain area. You can advise the sponsors or the sponsoring organization about that and advise them to do more training. And that's also beneficial for the project managers, the recipients of that training. So you see from that, let's say, sandwich position as a PMO, you can derive benefits for all these stakeholders. You just need to be creative enough to see that and provide these benefits to the stakeholders.
Yeah, so you have a very important role to play, as you mentioned, this sandwich. I don't like the word sandwich. It's more like a bridge between the organizational leaders and the project and program managers. So if you put a sandwich, you know, everybody start blaming the meat in the sandwich. You are the meat in the sandwich. Yeah. So as a bridge is in making sure what project managers are doing based on organizational strategy and objective. Of course, you know, some kind of guidance, and also whatever happening on the ground, you need to collect all this data, information, reports, and provide them to the executive board, or to the C-level people, the decision makers, in the right time, in right format. That's another important thing.
Yeah, and always be creative, be innovative. That concerns the KPIs, the metrics you're using, the information you're providing. You're more like a broker. Maybe sandwich is not the perfect word, but a broker that mediates, that facilitates between those people that are decision makers and those that are executing the projects. And this brokerage is a very important role in the organization. It helps you also to improve the whole organizational maturity in project management. And that should be also one role a PMO should support is maturity checks. So from time to time to do a maturity check on project management and develop the organizational maturity in project management further. And there are standards for that, and you know, OPM3 and many other of these kind of maturity models. In ipma, we have ipma Delta that helps you to improve the organizational maturity in project management.
Yeah, I do see PMO as a command center where they have information on their fingertips, where the project manager, or whatever happening project, they get real time. Maybe I'm talking some future state. You know, the project managers are, the project's information is getting updated automatically, most of the information. and project manager may be updating as the close of the day or as the things happen. The PMO get to know almost immediately. And these alerts are happening. They can see the report, they can see the pie chart, they can see the bar chart, and they, based on a trend analysis, should I warn the project manager? Should I inform my C-level people? So that all should be, if that can happen automatically, that's the thing. That's my vision of a ideal future project PMO.
Yes, and that's, I think, a very good direction. And we talked about artificial intelligence and the impact on project management. And I said it will have a very severe impact on the project management office. Yeah. Because right now I see a lot of PMOs, they have a lot of people, but they work mainly on Excel and this kind of old, let's say, fashion stuff. And artificial intelligence, robot process automation, whatever tools you use here will have a significant impact on the PMO work.
Yeah.
So it will enable you further or beyond what you are able to do right now. So creating more transparency, easing the way of documentation, of reporting, etc. So I think that's a future picture that's not that far away. Because actually some of the PMOs are already using it right now.
Exactly.
Some need still to invest heavily to reach such a point, but I think that's at the next door step, I would say, to utilize more this digitalization and artificial intelligence stuff.
Yeah, I think you brought a very interesting point about the artificial intelligence, because a lot of work is repetitive. You look at the status report, okay, this is not right, capture some information from the Excel spreadsheet or the report into another report, and you make it, you collect all the information, you make some, suggest some decision. All this can be interpreted by the machine, by, hey, you give me the report in this format, or from the system itself, and you already collected that information. Then now PMO is not a admin anymore. They are assisting the decision maker. They are very actively working with project and program managers and organizational leaders actually they are becoming engine rather than just wheels. They're becoming the part of the engine.
Yeah, but even go a step further, because right now a PMO is not so much involved in strategic thinking or strategy development. And I think that's a problem for many PMOs, because they are not seen at the same eye level like the top management or senior executives. And there's a huge gap. We did research on that. There's a huge gap between strategy development, so the strategic level of management, and the operational level of management, which means implementation of these strategies through projects and programs. And the PMO should be connecting those two worlds by delivering, let's say, strategic information.
Yeah. We
call that emerging strategy, because you may discover in the project what is, let's say, state of the art, maybe new innovations, new approaches also for processes, and help to aggregate that in formulating a new strategic approach or strategic initiatives. So it should not be just a top-down approach of breaking down the strategy into project objectives. It should be exactly also the other direction, let's say, bottom-up emerging strategy, and the PMO could be one of the facilitators of these processes.
Exactly. And that will only happen when you come out from this admin, whatever they are doing at the moment, to some more, thought process. They are the thought leaders, and seeing what exactly happening in the project, and learn from them and contribute to the organization, the strategic meetings. That's where the value add coming from all these the future PMOs.
Yeah, I think there's also one big problem, because if you look into management schools, like here in Europe, it's maybe St. Gallen or Harvard or others. We have a split in education. So the top manager, they go to the top ranked management schools. And for them, project management is something down the trenches, it's something basic. it's like admin. You labeled it like admin, or I would say just something operational. So they look at people from this high tower and say, okay, that's the people they do it. And on the other hand, we in project management look at our education. How much strategy is in our education of project managers? Do we tell them about the terminology? Do we speak about strategy development? Do we speak about, or enough about, the link between strategy and operations? And I think that's a problem of education, so that we need to bridge better, and project manager needs to think more and act more strategically, and the senior executives in the other way, more operationally.
Yeah, I think some international bodies such as ipma and PMI, they are bringing new standards. The 7th edition from PMI, 7th edition of PMBOK is coming out from the traditional project management to principle-based project management. Not just focus on getting the of course you still have to work on the risk issues, requirements, but don't just think like that. You are part of the strategic delivery. You need to think beyond that. So thought process has to change. And you correctly mentioned the education system, which is traditionally either you have MBAs and then you have engineers coming and they are growing into the ranks. They don't have much knowledge about strategy, objectives, KPI, SLAs. They are good workers. They can get the things done, coordinate the work, but without realizing the impact of their work into the organizational strategy objectives.
Yeah,
and that alignment is very, very important.
Absolutely. And I was several times asked, who's the best head of a PMO? And they asked me whether it's their best project manager. And I said, your best project manager is best in managing projects, but not in best managing the PMO, because he will never be accepted on this top management level. So the, let's say, recipient of the information and so on. So the head of the PMO should rather be a line manager, should be a senior executive that speaks the language of senior executives, that is more, let's say, strategic oriented, long-term oriented, permanently oriented, with, let's say, also experience in temporary projects and program management. So my advice would really be not the best project manager is best in managing a PMO, but rather a strategic manager or someone with that perspective in mind.
Yeah, I think the people who are growing from project management to program and program to portfolio management with the strategic, visibility and all that, they can be better PMOs, or because they have done the projects, they understand the project management, but they can also see how the organization moving. They are connected with the C-level people, so they understand how the organization is moving towards. So I think they are the better people to be moving into the PMO head of PMO. And that will happen. Actually, if you just consider them as an admin support staff as a PMO, then they are not aspired to move there. But if they see that PMO is not just admin or just supporting, taking notes, making meeting minutes, rather they are supporting the decision making. They are making sure the project and program are actually happening beyond the way project manager trying to run. They're supporting those project managers. That's where the value added coming from the PMO head.
I would see two aspects as very important. So for me, the future PMO, that's our topic here, needs to fulfill one additional role, and that's the more strategic foresight role. So like an air traffic controller in the tower is looking, let's say, beyond the local context, beyond the, let's say, organizational unit doing individual projects, but needs to look into the strategic long-term thinking of the whole organization. the whole corporate strategy and that context. And they may, from year to year, and now we have the pandemic, they see some things popping up, and project managers need to be aware of these kind of developments. So the PMO should feed back that kind of foresight information to all the stakeholders, sponsors, project managers, teams, risk managers, etc., so that they are aware of what's coming up. And the second one, and we mentioned that majority thing, I think that's also that many PMOs are also now a change management office, or I would even call it a transformation management office.
Yeah.
So because if the organization is developing through projects and programs, then you need also a central hub where you have competence in what does it mean to do a transformation in change management and organize and coordinate those activities. So I think that's more to the future PMO, strengthening of this role as a strategic foresight, and also these organizational development and change processes and foster them.
Yeah, not only change, but also think benefit managers as well, value managers as well. You know, they can collect all the required, you know, the benefit collected from various projects. They can accumulate and they can see things much in bigger way than just a project manager. So they can keep the C-level people informed. Hey, this is by doing these projects or by stopping this project, I think we can get better value or better benefit for the organization. So if we can empower the PMO who can guide the senior managers by looking this from the strategic point of view, from the project point of view, I think that can be a very, very good proposition.
Yeah, if we continue that journey now into the future PMO, I think support, we mentioned support is so essential for a PMO. Support to the project teams, the project managers, and whatever staff is available doing that. So now, if there's a change program going on, you can help them in supporting that change activity. And we already talked about change management and what does it mean to an organization. And the PMO can be the change agent, coaching, training people in doing that.
Yeah.
And we also spoke about artificial intelligence and the citizen developers. So a PMO could be supporting project managers in, let's say, developing small algorithms or implement machine learning. The PMO could be also from that perspective a support function for the project, because project managers need to focus on their project. But they need support, and PMO could be the support function for all these kind of things.
Yeah, and I think I mentioned a few times, but the product we have developed, we call it VxDCC, Virtual Transformation Digital Command Center. So that's the kind of thing, the command center, and that actually empowers the PMO, the project managers, to see things in a long term, not just narrowly spreadsheet based. It is helping the organization to see things beyond just spreadsheets and other things. So you're talking about machine learning and artificial intelligence, and these kind of things are actually already bringing a lot of many organizations bringing their system, a tool which are going to utilize all the artificial machine learning and building the more efficient tools, a platform which can help a lot of project managers, PMO, and organization in a bigger way.
Yes, and I learned that PMI is supporting citizen development, and I think that's a good combination. If project management and citizen development goes hand in hand, it does not mean that every project manager is a citizen developer. That I think a burden too much for a PM. But if a PMO has some people supporting project teams in that, I think that would be really great.
Yeah. So I think the future PMO is going to be dependent on artificial intelligence, machine learning, with smart thinking, agility, smarter processes. Those things we can expect to see in the coming up or in the more future PMOs.
Let me look also into one aspect. Maybe that's a very different animal now if you look into PMOs. Because we talked about all these developments in the sphere of project management. Now, it's very complex for many people. It's stress for many people in the context of project management. So if you work globally with teams, there's a blend of your working time and your leisure time, and so like me, it's now late evening here, and if you work with teams in the US, then you work late night. So that's also a problem for many people in the sphere of project management. So a PMO could support project managers with, let's say, physical and health issues, to find a way for relaxation, to coach them to take care of themselves, to prevent them to have, let's say, physical damage or mental damage. And I think that will be more an emphasis of the PMO in the future than it was in the past, because we just say people work, don't take much bother about these kind of mental and health issues. But nowadays, I think we see a lot of burnout symptoms and mental health issues in the field of project management, and a PMO could support people in that area.
I think you just talked about a very, very important point. Given the globalization and time zones, different time zones, and people are working many, many hours. You wake up in the morning, you see a message, you start replying to a message, and then another message, another email form, this problem, that problem. If you realize it's already 12 o'clock, you didn't have breakfast even, and stress, and that is, and especially when they are working remotely, they are in silos. They are not having any interaction with anybody else, but they're thinking about a project. That is impacting a lot of people, a lot of stress, depression problems and other things going on. So if the PMO can also have this arm, which is looking after the well-being of their project managers, I think that's a very good idea. And that should be taken positively by most of the organization. Yep, not only work, but how my staff are actually maturing in the organization and how their well-being is looked after. And not just talk about project, talk about beyond work, well-being, happiness, spirituality, all kind of things. And exercise, encouraging them to do some exercise, going away from the desk, walking in the park or whatever, give them time off, whatever required. That will happen only when somebody is there to monitor. Otherwise, management expect work, and project manager working before they realize burning them, they're impacting the life. But in between, as we said, the bridge, they should be able to see, hey, my project managers are working too hard. Other people are working too hard. We should have either, give them some better environment and maybe have more people to support, because yes, you're trying to get the more work done by limited people. Why not we hire more people? So that's where this bridge in between can help to, have a better, mature and, stable project managers.
Yeah, and it's proven. And Germany is, I think, a good example. I think we globally work the least working hours a year. We have quite many, let's say, public holidays, religious holidays, etc., etc. But the efficiency of productivity in Germany is very high.
Yeah.
And that's because if you have your time for relaxation, for family and friends and stuff, you're more fresh if you go to work. You are more creative. So you have more ideas. And that's also what we can experience if we have, let's say, a walk, a hike in the mountains. I think still you just maybe you have a transfer idea that you can utilize, and you can read books and can get inspired and so on and so forth. So a good balance, work-life balance, I think that's not a nice word. It's a really important concept for organizations to improve their productivity and efficiency. And that works, at least in my country. Sure, it also goes with a price or cost.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, I think if the price or the cost for performant work is the health of the employees, then definitely something is wrong in this world or in this economy. So this is why the project economy, we need to take care of the health, mental and physical health of the staff, and that's paramount.
Yeah. So, and also, of course, we talk about health and well-being, but recognizing rewards, recognizing the right staff and right motivation should be coming. And that's, that's another role PMO can take. Hey, I need to motivate my staff, giving them right reward recognition, that's where it. And if they are motivated, not to encourage more to do more work, but more smartly, for the reward recognition for better ideas, not just for the. I'll tell you one example. This is where I was working for a bank in Australia, and I was working similar work, and there was another project manager working, because this bank has two parts because of the merger. I was looking after anti-money laundering AML project for one side, and the other person looking after the other bank. Somehow my projects are all control. I was talking to various team members and everything under control. So I'm sitting on a desk, and my team everywhere in the in Australian part and India. So I'm just calling them, I'm checking how things going, everything going smoothly. I'm also looking internet while implementation going on. But this team is sitting in the war room with the head of department, all the people sitting there, crazy, mad, and going crazy at the back, and a lot of issues there. I'm not saying the problem, there are a lot of problems. But when the reward recognition time came, they did talk about my project. Dharam had a great dream project. Everything was so smooth, everything. But when the check or the gift card, they were given to the people working late night and over the weekends in their war room. Then what? That's not a motivation. They should be motivated. They should be recognized. Hey, the dream project doesn't happen like that. It is created by a project manager. His contribution, thinking, not just work beyond that, building relationship with your team members, encouraging, and that is one of the job PMO can take. Not just finding the right way to motivate people.
I would turn it around. I think for me, in the project space, it should be give space to the motivation of the people, because I believe everybody is motivated, intrinsically motivated. So we cannot extrinsically motivate people. So we just need to have the right people working in the right project with the right skills and the right motivation. And that combination, that's also something that a PMO can really take care of.
Yeah.
Because if you know as a PMO what the really task is of the project, you should also be engaged in finding the right people working on that project. Because you have the overview, you may have, let's say, the resource management function, and can deploy the right people, maybe also the right suppliers or freelancers and so on, to do the right project. And I think that matching, that's a very critical one, and the PMO could be very instrumental in that.
Yeah, actually, this is a very important point: resource management, resource allocation, work allocation. One of the important topic when I'm teaching PfMP, Portfolio Manager Professional for PMI, one of the topic is demand and supply, and in that, you have limited resources, 50, 100, whatever, and so many projects are coming. Every sponsor is every customer asking their project to be part of the portfolio. So now you have very, very important job to play, finding the right skill to work on a project and utilizing those limited resources in the most efficient way. And if you just rely on spreadsheets, which is most of the organization, it is going to be challenged, very big challenge. By the time you come to conclusion, things already moved on to other projects. Things are very dynamic. So you need, as I've been emphasizing again and again, a system which can give you a real-time information, all the information happening in one place, HR management happening one place, the project management happening in same system, your supply chain happening in one system, and so that your decision making can be more accurate. The PMO or the portfolio manager, program manager can make the decision based on the science, not just by emotions. So I think the resource management, the optimization of the available resources, very, very important role PMO can play.
I fully agree. On the other hand, I would also say, how do you grasp intrinsic motivation? I think a PMO could be rather a marketplace where demand and supply meets. And you offer the people, the staff that you have in your organization, or you can offer it to the external market, the projects you have. You need to sell the projects to that people, saying, okay, now we have the newest software development for Tesla car infotainment system, I don't know what, and who's willing to do so. And then it's like, okay, I'd like to do that. No, I'm not interested in cars. I like to do rockets or whatever. So the PMO could be the marketplace to balance and let's say trade very important projects with the intrinsic motivation of the people. And it means also you need to sell the purpose of that project.
Exactly.
Not just the deliverables, but the purpose. So what is that project good? Why is it good for you as a project manager or a staff member? So I think that's maybe also the future PMO, a broker.
Exactly. You know, here you are having, you know, auction. Hey, this is a project. Who's going to take this? Who's going to take? Now, don't go. Okay, you're going to do in 6 months. Can you do in 5 months? Can you do in 4 months? No. That will kill. So I think yeah, the future PMO, as we see, has a bigger role to play in the organization's success value, and that's where the organization has to see PMO as an investment. You know, very important area for investment. Having the right people looking after the PMO role, PMO manager role, and having the right tools, equipments, and support structure, support environment for them, and they should be empowered to take decision or assist in the decision making, and don't just see them as another meeting minutes takers or just reporters. No, just creating report. Beyond that, PMO should be beyond these either traditional way of function, administrative function, and having the right processes and right tools. And that's where you and me can guide. If somebody come and ask us, we can probably take them in the direction, hey, this kind of tool, these are the process we can or you should be implementing, and that will help organization to do their job better, and value, bottom line, can improve.
In my presentation to this very large automotive supplier, I concluded my talk in saying these are the different roles of a future PMO. It's first a strategic guide, like this air traffic controller, who gives guidance, what is coming up on the horizon and what kind of implication that will have for the projects. It's a kind of a knowledge broker, which helps people to understand what kind of knowledge is available, which juggles with, let's say, best practices and good practices and so on, which helps the, let's say, people to apply. It's a project supporter, which in all regards, let's say, like the citizen developer or like change agent or like the midwife, helps the project teams to be successful in their role. A PMO in the future will be more and more the caregiver. So in all regards, mentally, physically, etc., to support the people in their well-being, being project managers. And I think that's a very critical and crucial role. And it also means that you need to have a different profile of being a PMO. And finally, I believe future PMO is a corporate integrator, because you have so many complex interrelationships in your organization. PMO facilitates decision-making, takes care for the selection, implementation, and completion of projects. So it's this kind of synchronization that you need to take care of. And you mentioned resource management, etc. So I think these are the important roles of a future PMO. That's not that far from nowadays. I believe that will be a perspective of the next 3 to 7 years. But I think that will have a severe impact on the PMO of the future.
Yeah, and it's great summary of the different roles. While saying 3 to 5 years, actually a lot of organizations already implementing the new way of doing PMOs, and especially because of COVID, the things which were 3 to 5 years away are already, and we have to bring forward, because if you don't do them now, we're not able to survive. So yeah, so it is already now, and next 3 to 5 years, you will see more and more advancement in the PMO space by having better tools, better process, better people, role defined, and looking after all the project program manager and the organization value management.
That's a good perspective. Thank you for this talk.
Thank you very much, Reinhard. It was really awesome to talk to you, and with your vast experience and knowledge, your worked. As an ex-president of IPMA, you bring a lot of knowledge and experience. So I'm very fortunate to have talks with you, learn from you, and with this discussion, I think many people are finding useful to build their project management skills and PMO skills. So we'll continue the discussion, and with more topics, better topics, hot topics. So once again, thank you very much, Reinhard. Thank you for your partnership. Looking forward to have more sessions with you.
Thank you, and happy Christmas. And enjoy your blue wine, the hot wine.
And happy New Year. Yes, we are far away, still away, but yes, happy New Year to everyone.
It's very close.
Yeah,
Thank
exactly.
you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.